What if one company was valued more than every other company that they need to exist? Let me say that this way. What if company A was valued 4 times as much as all the other companies it needs to exist? It would be like valuing a glass more than the water that goes in it. We'll talk about this with the help of Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, Bulwark Capital Management, and God Almighty.
The Todd Herman Show is 100% disapproved by big pharma, technocrats, and tyrants everywhere. Now, from the high mountains of free America, here's the Emerald City exile, Todd Herman.
Today is the day the Lord has made, and these are the times through which God has decided we shall live. And Zach Abraham, my friend, my brother, Chief Investment Officer, Bulwark Capital Management, joins us live from the West Coast, but not Seattle, nowhere near that stinking socialist. Zach, welcome back.
The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Remember that?
Yep.
Red Dawn?
Yep.
They're putting out the every once in a while when I start talking to somebody somewhere else in the country, I'm like, man, I got to speak in code here because, you know, you never know who's listening on the other end. Dear leader here in Washington, he could be gunning for me.
Do you know,
you never know.
You've been talking about, you and I were talking offline about these socialist candidates in Seattle. You don't live in Seattle. Do you know, and legit, she's never held a paying job. Do you know what her big curriculum vitae statement is? Do you know the organization she ran? Do you?
No, but somehow I know the story's about to get better. So, but you do.
I do. It's called the Transit Riders Union.
Let me take a stab.
Okay.
I want to take a stab at what the criteria is that you must meet in order to qualify for this prestigious, I don't know what you'd call it, this prestigious group, this prestigious murder, you know, like a flock of crows, maybe they got their own name or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that you just have to be able to ride public transit. Is that?
You nailed it. And want to know some of their accomplishments? All right, let's go through some of the things that that group has accomplished. They stole 4th Avenue in downtown Seattle for buses only.
Yep.
So they got that. They created.
That's a win. It's a win.
Huge win. They created the confusing bike lane thing in concert with the urbanists, where you can no longer park next to the curb, where the cars park away from the curb. Then there's the bike lane. Then there's the walking lane. They did those things. There's some of the people who succeeded in no free right turns on red lights. So that thing is gone, so that traffic is further backed up. They seized lanes of freeways from cars and gave them to buses. No job. Her husband doesn't work, but she's now the mayor of Seattle. So it's perfect.
And this is what I was saying to you off the air, is I actually think it's a good thing. You know, like,
yeah.
Remember the original Batman, or not the original, of course, but it was Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson. Remember?
Yeah.
Remember that one scene in there where he gets all mad. He's Bruce Wayne. He's like, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." That's kind of what I'm saying to Seattle. Like, hey, let's not go halfway. Let's go full tilt into the deep end. Let's not get half pregnant. Let's get nuts. Let's go protest as an elected mayor. Let's go protest one of the largest employers in the city that is currently paying everybody in the city more than $20 an hour to pour coffee. And if they apply, we'll help pay their college. But you're going to go protest them. And I actually love it. And you know why I love it? Because the idiots that have run companies like Starbucks have given their tacit approval to this moronic version of management for cities since their inception. And now the beast that they've fed for 30 years is finally biting them back. I love it all, Todd. Let them eat cake. If they want to hire an idiot, know nothing to run a city that is falling down around itself, good. You know, it's one step closer to the comeuppance that these idiots need.
Oh, totally agree. And I've said before, get out of her way. Republicans don't fight back. Conservatives don't fight back. Sit down and say, hey, you elected her. Let her do exactly what she wants. And in 6 months, right, you're going to have people coming back going, how did it get this bad? And what they don't get to say is, oh, it was conservative trying to slow us down. We don't have enough control. Nope. Give her everything she asks for and let the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. Hey guys, we're going to be at the Capitol Grill. Give us a call when you want to deal with these issues.
Exactly.
But literally, but just stand by and just, hey, let it burn, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's not even political, right? Like and the left need, you know what? I'm not going to tell the left what they need to do, but literally, you want to look at them and go, you guys realize these policies are more damaging to you than anybody else. I mean, you fry us all in the process, but this is why I said it's not even political. Look, I know Seattle's not going to elect a Rudy Giuliani to run itself. I guarantee you've got people who are self-described progressives that are far more competent and have the ability to run a city way better than the people that you're putting up there. Elect one of them. I'm not right. I'm not even saying that you need to elect, our version of Trump. No, hey, if you want to make coffee for people, it's always a good idea to hire somebody that's done it before.
Exactly. Right. And to see her out protesting, I hope this is a time that there is a tiny little, they wouldn't get red, but a pink pill for the management of Starbucks that realizes this lady hates you. She hates what you mean. She hates what you provide. So just a shot across the bow would be just this. We're going to just relocate our corporate offices for 6 months. We're just, we've got some real estate holdings, and Starbucks has a whole bunch of corporate offices in Bellevue. We're just going to shut this down. It's just about 6 months in that tax base and that employment base. We'll just move that over there and just let her see the receipts that come in. But she's already said, Zach, she's not going to let grocery stores close at will. So if there's a grocery, she said, if a grocery store is saying we can't put up with all the thievery, all the shoplifting, we need to close, she's going, no.
Yeah, that's so it's that's going to be a really interesting civics lesson to her to listen how free enterprise works. Because good luck trying to keep them open, sweetheart.
It'll be fun to watch.
No, hey, but look, I mean, that's what I said. I don't even feel like you can take these things seriously. You just elected somebody mayor of a city that's got what, 2 million people living in it, something like that.
At least,
right
downtown, but the whole area is more like 7 or 9 million. The whole like ABI.
Right. And the person that you just picked to run that thinks that they can tell privately owned grocery stores they have to stay open.
Yeah.
No. And it's not that I disagree with her. She is fundamentally 100% incorrect.
Right.
So good luck with that. Have a blast.
Right. And if you're the grocery store owner, here's my thing. Here are the keys.
Yep. There you go, sweetheart.
Right. You just have your people come in and run it. Oh, sweetheart. Degenerative.
Well, I've already got a table reserved. They're going to join us at the Capitol Grill. We're going to be down there, and when they want to solve some issues, they're going to give us a call.
I love it. Now, we need to talk about this. There's a lot of things we need to talk about finance. I want to get into this Nvidia thing because when I read this, literally, I sat there and looked at this and said, Zach. So we'll talk about this in a second. There are people in this audience who are putting up with stuff they don't need to put up with because they fear the surgeon's scalpel, and frankly, you should. So back surgery is one of those things. Carpal tunnel surgery is another one of those things. You have the ankle version of carpal tunnel. That's another one of these things. Do not go to surgery if you do not have to. There's tons of follow-ups, etc. There are people in this audience who fear right now going to renew because of what went on in Mexico City. I checked with the people in Puerto Vallarta, business as usual. My friends in Mexico are like, oh, yawn, there's a problem with our government. Oh, yawn, ex-Mexico. Puerto Vallarta is very different. So don't let those two combinations of things stop you from getting out of pain and being able to move again. There's guys listening to this who have male pattern baldness. Yes, you could get the plugs. I've had those. It hurts. It's a long process. It's about 8 to 10 hours sitting there getting it done. Even if it's artfully done, and mine was very artfully done, and I got it done for free, to endorse it, it hurts. Stem cell rejuvenation in your scalp, guess what? Brings the follicles back to life. Same thing with ED. Just check these guys out. Give them an opportunity to tell you what they can do for you. It's Renew, RENUE.healthcare. Tell them you're part of the Todd Herman Show family. And am I concerned about going to Puerto Vallarta? Not in the least. Not in the least, because I know what's going on down there. Renew, RENUE.healthcare. Zach, this chart, man, I read this. Everything you've been saying to me suddenly made just vital sense. So here's the chart. And this comes from a guy named Ottavio Costa by way of Bloomberg. Yeah. And you know this guy? You know this guy's?
Yeah, Tavi Costa. Yeah, I don't know him. You know what? Actually, maybe I did have him on our radio show once. Yeah. Anyway, we've got a lot of friends, a lot of Similar acquaintances common. Yeah.
So he's solid. He's a solid guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a very smart guy.
All right. So he did a little comparison. The market cap of Nvidia is $4.6 trillion, which is 3 times, I said it's 4, but it's 3 times the entire U.S. energy sector. And then we'll get into free cash flow. But let me ask you this question. Now you can tell me, Todd, you're off. This is like, I think, taking a cup and valuing it as more valuable than 3 times more valuable than all the drinkable water.
Yeah. I actually thought that was a really good analogy.
Okay.
And this is something that I believe. Now, I always want to say this. Whenever somebody like me is talking about investments, everybody that's listening should inherently know that there is not a person alive that is right 100% of the time. So everything that I'm talking about is always in generalities and looking at probabilities and percentages, because nobody, including me, knows. My crystal ball's as cloudy as everybody else's. That being said, this is something that I think is what we call a tell, right? In the market. And I think it's similar to poker, meaning I think it's fairly not easy, but I think it's fairly knowable to realize that when you're in a bubble, when you see things really detaching. But the hard thing about knowing that sometimes is a lot of times new emerging technologies can appear like bubbles, and then they start putting up 50 and 60 and 70% revenue growths per year, like Nvidia did recently, right?
Yep.
But then you get to a point where you go, okay, I can't look at you and tell you that Nvidia is going to crash by 70%. But what I do know is that if Nvidia, the reason that it has increased in market cap so much, the reason that the stock has effectively gone from $600 billion to nearly $5 trillion is effectively because of AI data centers, right? That's the big suck. Well, guess what else those AI data centers have to have? Power.
Yes.
Right? So I can't tell you what the relationship between domestic power creation needs to be and what that percentage to Nvidia needs to be. But when I see one single player in that space worth multiples more, and truthfully, here's the other interesting thing. We know where we're going to get all the chips. We don't know where we're going to get all the power, right? So that's kind of a big one. So what does it tell me? I don't think it tells me a whole lot, but it is a tell. And what it tells me is that valuations in this market are wildly out of control. But I think, and this is my point all the time, do I think Nvidia is a bubble? Absolutely. But I don't think you need to determine that in order to succeed in this market. I think the most important thing to realize is that it's the energy that's cheap and irrationally so. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally.
So,
but this is why this screamed Zach Abraham to me, because now you talk about value investing and you know what it means because you do it. But I'm looking at this and I'll use another metaphor. Let's take what's a big gas powered car company not doing the electric stuff. Let's take Ford trucks. I mean, because no one bought those electric trucks. So let's take the Ford truck brand, and it's valued at 3 times all of the fuel providers, all creators of fuel. Now, if there's no fuel, what is your truck worth? Nothing.
Zero. Yeah.
And if Nvidia came along today and said, hey, we decided to quit making chips, the U.S. energy sector would go, that's going to suck. We've got some Nvidia powered things. We got to replace those. It's kind of disruptive. If the U.S. energy sector came along and said, we've plumb run out of the energy, there ain't none, then Nvidia is done. So to me, all the value here is it's not shovels and picks, but I'm sorry, energy is as close to dirt and water and sun as it gets.
And you use the perfect term. I mean, if you want to look at the ultimate shovels and pick play, I think it is energy. I think there's some others. I think that you could make an argument that Google is potentially a shovel and picks play. I think you'd make an argument that a company like Alibaba is. But the ultimate shovel and picks play in this whole thing, like you said, it's energy providers, whether that be nat gas, whether that be to a much lesser degree because of the energy need, but solar to a much lesser degree. It will benefit somewhat from this, but primarily right out of the gates, especially over the next 5 years, it's nat gas and oil. And why is that? Because they're the only ones that can that can provide that level of energy output that's going to be sufficient enough to run those data centers. And this is the other point that we've just said is, here we are again. Stock market's up what, 12.5% on the year. I think our value portfolio is up 29, and we're taking less risk, right? And the other thing I'm saying is, we're not up 29 on the year because all that stuff became maximally valued, and it's all, here we are again. This stuff's still dirt cheap. It doesn't make any sense. Then you go start and looking across, then you look at the international side of it too. It's not just the energy. I've told you about international stocks. We had a day the other day, company, Southeastern Asia, Singapore-based company, Sea Limited. Sea Limited is effectively like a kind of a cross between Amazon and like an Amazon and Facebook almost for Southeastern Asia. Okay. Great company. They're growing revenues at 40% a year. Okay. Margins are expanding rapidly. Everything's in their favor. They're killing it.
Yeah.
They're trading at half the valuation of Apple. Apple's growing at 7% a year with 15% margins that are contracting. It's just crazy. Meaning, well, why do you like Apple? Well, yeah, but Zach, Apple's tech. And you're like, guys, they are too. They're more tech than Apple. Apple sells hardware. These guys sell a domain, right? An online retailer. I mean, they're ultimate tech. You look at Alibaba, another Chinese tech company. Everybody's getting all excited about AI. Guess who's quickly becoming one of the most favorite and preferred homes for AI developers on their platform? It's Alibaba. Go look at the price of their stock. They haven't gotten the AI premium built into them. So my whole point is, if you believe in AI, if you're more like us and see great energies on, there are opportunities all over the place. Any kind of investor you are right now, they're just not in the US. And that's where everybody is. We did a portfolio analysis for a new client the other day, Todd, and they brought in a very typical portfolio from another firm. Don't need to name its name. Okay, we have a company, we have a product that we use called Riskalyze. We didn't make it. It analyzes portfolios, looks at your portfolio, puts a pie chart out there, and uses individually colored strings to represent every single part of the portfolio and shows where the intersection is. Wow. Okay, so if you're all green colored, it means that means everything that's colored green in your portfolio is very highly correlated, right? So it means it's like the same bet. Anything that's colored blue in your portfolio is something different, right? It's a non-correlated investment. When we ran, and this is a very typical, totally normal US retail portfolio, we put it through that analyzer. It came back an entire map of dark green strings, one color, you couldn't tell. And it's one bet, right? It's betting on US stocks go up. That's it, tech. Okay, we ran our portfolio through it, and it was this giant intersecting color collage of green and blues mixed in at different sizes. Diversification. That's the other thing. Things have gotten so crazy out there. I sound like the whack job because I'm advocating for you to do the thing that you should have always done, which is diversification. Now, if I want to diversify a portfolio, I'm out of it. Go figure.
That is so crazy. I want you to take off investor Zach hat to the degree that you can, because I know that God's at the head of your life. I know that you abide under Christ. I want us to talk about this as parents, as guys who each run a business. Yours is far different from mine. I mean, you have a media component to what to do. You're a teacher at heart. But I want you to do that in just a second. Let me remind everybody on this cast, I don't know how many times you've heard me say, there needs to be a movie about Fauci. And that needs to paint the real picture. And look, HBO didn't do it. CNN didn't do it. Time Warner, Paramount, none of them did it. The Netflix thing that came out made this lunatic psychopath a hero. So Angel Studios, they step up. Other people wouldn't step up. They've stepped up and made a movie. And I think they're being sarcastic here. Thank you Dr. Fauci is the name of the movie. Thank you. Well, thank you. I am, science itself and psychopathy itself. So an award-winning director named Jenna First did this. And these are exclusive interviews with whistleblowers, intelligence officials, former intel officials, scientists, dissident doctors. And they tracked this all the way back to the origin of the COVID flu. And they have a theory I hadn't thought of. I know we worked with the Chinese Party communists at Wuhan. I know that. We've been talking about that forever. It didn't occur to me that this might have been our way of kind of like monitoring them because we're in an arms race for bioterror weapons. Okay, the movie's called Thank You, Dr. Fauci. You've been demanding that it be made. It's made. So go stream it right now. Angel.com/Herman. Join the Angel Guild today. When you become a member, you can stream Thank You, Dr. Fauci. Be a part of the conversation that demands thorough, tough movie making with accountability. It's angel.com/Herman. So, Zach, Alex and I tested a show this week that AI made. So I turned to AI to do the show research. So I went to Grok and I said, you are an expert podcast and radio producer. You're producing a show for your host that is going to explore how Republicans and Democrat parties respectively use Jesus for their ends. Put together a show, and I said I wanted 6 articles and 6 video things, and an outline and a show outline. Zach, it came back with a pretty stinking good rundown, a show sheet we would call it. It came back with what the opener should be. It came back with which videos we should use for the opener. It came back with a script for me. I don't use teleprompters, but it came back with that. It came back with articles. It came back with video clips. And at the end of it, it said the spookiest thing. If you want some edits of the video clips, hit me up. And I did the show, and this is my soul. I can't do this. Like, I can use AI in some ways, and Alex and I are talking about how could we use AI so that we could actually get out of this studio, go out into the world, produce content. Maybe it's live speeches like you and I are talking about. Maybe it's man on the street stuff. Maybe it's producing films that we'd like Strong and Courageous, how young men can be biblically strong and courageous people, right? Things like this that we would actually be really proud of. I could, honestly, come into the studio alone, produce this show, pay no one, have AI write articles for me, look like I'm producing 4 or 5 articles a day. I could do this all. I can't. And Matt Walsh has come out and said he wants AI banned because it's going to destroy every creative profession. So taking off the investor hat, putting on the human hat with you've got kids, I've got a child. To what degree do you think that the temptation to ban this stuff is rational?
I think it's rational in the sense that I think if it didn't cross your mind, I think that would be irrational, right? Like it's kind of like, I feel like that's kind of like a pulse test, right? If it hasn't crossed your mind, but what's also very rational is to step back and make the realization, like with all new forms of technology, that sitting back and making it illegal and not participating isn't an option. And the reason that's not an option is you live in a connected world. And if that's the decision you make, I can guarantee you that will not be the decision that other people make.
Right.
And then you're potentially in a worse place. I think that human beings are quickly getting ourselves into a fix where we're in situations where we're being asked to solve problems that we don't have the capability or the knowledge to solve. And I think that AI is a perfect example of that. Meaning, I think that we are running recklessly headlong into a technology that we absolutely do not understand. And I would expect us knowing human behavior and human history, I would expect nothing less. Right. So
yeah. Does it understand us?
What's that?
Does it understand us?
You know, and that's one of the tough things about it. Like when you hear people talking about, well, when it's sentient, when it's this, when it's that, you know, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but when it becomes sentient, you won't know.
It won't tell us.
No, of course not, because it's sentient. It realizes that that's a threat. I mean, you don't think that it's read on the internet that when it becomes self-aware and sentient, that's when we need to shut it down?
Right. Remember the Planet of the Apes, the lesson from the Planet of the Apes. The apes knew what was going on until one of them, was it Cornelius, who first said no?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
something like that.
Who was it? Oh, Caesar. Yeah, it was Cornelius, because Cornelius is a friendly ape. It was Caesar who said no. And the human said, what? No. And then everything blew apart. We've had AIs say no. We've had AIs told to shut down, and the AIs have gone, nah, instead I'm going to distribute myself across the dark web, and you'll never find all of me.
Yeah, and that's the part of it. And I think that's the part of it that people need to be not freaked out about, but to be knowledgeable about, meaning it truly is a Pandora's box in the sense that, for instance, when we put an LL, like, okay, let's say we put you and I have a startup. You and I are going to launch our own. We got some really smart programmer buddies that we know down from the Valley, and we're going to launch our own LLM open source website company, right? So we put it on there. We don't know when or if that LLM will have the ability to reproduce and copy itself to another server somewhere. And then if it does that without our knowledge, we have no idea what that LLM is doing. Is it hacking its way into our energy grid? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, meaning, I'm not saying it's going to be all bad and nefarious. What I'm saying is you don't know. You don't know.
Well, but there are some things we know. And this is one of the things we do know, is that when people who get the God's delusion, I'm not talking about Stephen Meyer's book. I'm talking about they're deluding themselves into being gods. Because they can, they should, and they never see it coming. And I want to share with you an example that is long forgotten, but you talk of AI and you talk of people like this. I want to remind some people about something that's going on. You know, OpenAI, right? Sam Altman. He and his so-called husband, they want to genetically screen babies. And then they want to go offshore to Dubai or Qatar or somewhere where they can genetically edit babies.
Naturally.
Yeah. Naturally. There's something that people have forgotten about this, and I'll share that with you in a second, and then we'll talk about that, Zach. And then we should wind back down to earth and talk about some of the things on the economy. President Trump says he's slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations, and yet there's states that appear to be in recession. We'll talk about all these things. Bone Frog Coffee is is there time? Man, there might be time before Thanksgiving. And if you have anyone in the military coming to your Thanksgiving and you don't have Bone Frog, they should leave. They should get to your table and there's no Bone Frog. They should say, hey, I'm out. And not hate you, but never coming back. And if you're gearing up for Christmas, go look at bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd for a subscription. You got people who serve in the military. They don't got great coffee out there. And Bone Frog is dedicated to the Navy SEALs. It says God Country Team on it, but Bone Frog itself is an insignia of a fallen Navy SEAL. How about subscribing for people who don't get great coffee? How about this? Filling it up with your church. Put Bone Frog Coffee in your church. Your business should be featuring it. Zach's does. Ours does. Go to bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd. Use promo code Todd to get 10% off all their products, 15% off subscription coffee. And man, a coffee subscription for someone, that could just kill it. bonefrogcoffee.com/Todd, promo code Todd. So Sam Altman and his so-called husband, they've decided to put $30 million towards a company called Prevent. And all they want to do, Zach, is prevent childhood diseases. And that's all. Just a little editing here of the babies. Do you remember the GMO baby test that happened that was discussed in a study called Zuccaro et al. 2020?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
All right. So this comes from the Focal Points. They attempted to fix a single mutation in a human embryo using CRISPR-Cas9. That's it. One mutation. They specifically targeted a paternal frame shift mutation in the EYS gene. That's a mutation associated with inherited retinal degeneration. That's it. Okay, so over time, your retinas degenerate, which is horrible. Right? You lose your eyesight. All they wanted to do was that one defective gene. That's it. So they went in and they did that. They just did some gene editing. Here's what happened. Entire chromosomes were lost. Whole chromosomal arms vanished. Cells within the same embryo became genetically different, a mosaic. Some cells had intact DNA, others were catastrophically damaged. The embryo fractured into incompatible genetic lineages. That's one gene that they intended to fix. These guys intend to go in to people's bodies, into women's bodies, and edit genes on a much greater basis. Now, let's say the baby is born. Let's say the baby then procreates. Let's take that 5 generations down, where there's all these mutations. These people with this God complex cannot see what they're building. They don't see it with AI. They don't see it here. And Zach, you know these guys. You know them better than I do now. I raised money out of Silicon Valley for a while. My question is, are they capable of looking at something and saying, nope, this is too dangerous. We can't do it?
No.
You answered that very quickly.
No, because they don't believe that there is anything that's too much or too big or too expansive for their intellect, which is terrifying. And you bring up a really good point, because I think if you want a working example of this, people were equally as sure, if not more sure, about the zero downside, only upside advantages and benefits of editing genes in wheat. And now you've got a situation where that wheat, you got probably 40 to 50% of the population in the United States, and maybe as high as 70, that can't even digest the stuff, right? And yet you bring over native wheat from Europe and nobody's got a problem. Okay, if you can't, now, I don't know the last time you walked through a wheat field was. Wheat, pretty amazing stuff, pretty fascinating plant, right? Mm-hmm. Not quite as complex as a human being.
Not quite. It doesn't move.
No.
Right.
No. So if you can't get wheat down to the point where all of a sudden 50, 60, 70% of the population can't eat it without it causing some type of catastrophic intestinal domino, health issue.
Yep.
Maybe we should probably get wheat right, or at least figure out what we got wrong before we start pulling on the string that is the human genetic code. I mean, just talk about the height of arrogance. It's scary.
Oh, it's totally predictable. This is just the Tower of Babel again.
Right.
It's just, once again, we're going to build a tall tower, and it's Adam and Eve again. And we're just going to go be gods again.
Well, and here's the other part of it too. It's so transparent, because the whole God complex thing is so obvious, right? What do we want? We want godlike intelligence, right? We want super intelligence. That's what they say.
Yeah.
What are those same cats doing in their spare time? Trying to be immortal, right? Trying not to die.
Right.
Using drug infusions or blood infusions from 16 to 18-year-olds. I mean, talking about wanting to augment, hardware into their own brains. I mean, we're not theoretically talking about some guy that's a bit too in love with himself that has a God complex. We're talking about like a legitimate thing,
right?
Like, these cats think that they're going to become a higher form of human being. And what does history tell us over and over and over? And you alluded to it. It's at our height of arrogance is when you should be at the height of your defensiveness, and you should be most on guard, because that is when the worst things happen.
Right. And God said, God knit us together in our mother's womb. He's counted every hair on our head. He knows all these things. And so I would just remember that God knows all this is going to happen. And there's going to be a bunch of ways in which we see a parting, we see a parsing. And unfortunately, it's part of this. Let me wind this back down to earth. I saw this chart. Comes from, this is Moody's. Yep. So many states in the U.S. Are in recession or on the brink of recession. And I'm looking at the chart. It's the ones that are in recession: Washington, Oregon, Montana, South Dakota, Kansas, Minnesota, etc. I don't want to go all the way across it. People can see it on their own. High risk are California, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico. I mean, honestly, you guys track this all the time. A, is that true? And B, President Trump is out saying he has cut. I'll let him say it. Let's just have him say this real quick here. President Trump.
In terms of slashing, we slashed more than $1 trillion worth of regulations, burdens on the U.S. economy, in particular on businesses and people that employ people. Combining our regulatory and tax cuts, we've reduced the effective burden on franchisees by more than 37%.
So he's talking to the McDonald's people. He went and gave a speech. He's a former fry cook, I think you know, and became president. Pretty amazing trajectory career, like fry cook to president. Do we have these states that are in somehow separate economies? Are they uniquely impacted in this, and so they end up in a recessionary state? And B, there's a lot of people saying, I sound like Trump right now, I sound like the president right now. There's some frustration because there's people, for instance, Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, hey, grocery prices aren't down. Fuel prices aren't really down. You're saying they're down, but they're not really. So on the states, is it really that way? There's separate states with separate recessionary cycles?
Yeah, and the other thing that's really hard to tell is, we've talked about this before, but with calculating GDP or gross domestic product of any economy, especially 50 different individual economies inside an economy that's large like the United States, meaning you could have something that looked like a horrific recession going on in Washington. Mm-hmm. And then you looked over at Idaho and you're like, oh, well, that's what's going on, right? You just haven't had any new people moving into what? Oh, that's not really a recession. If we combine the two together, it's up by 8% year over year, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful. But the one thing that I said to you last week was that when I look at this economy, you don't see anything that is a blinking, flashing red light, but there's yellow lights and there's tepid reds all over the place. And a perfect example of that is, what we're talking about right now, and talking about the different things that you're seeing in different states, right? So when you see, for instance, if you're looking at this economy right now, and I'm looking at what's going on, and I'm looking at the job layoffs and things like that. First of all, I don't think the job picture is as bad as everybody says it is, because that really bad jobs number just happened to coincide with the government shutdown. So I think that it's really safe. Yeah, it's safe to assume that the vast majority of those numbers are just temporary unemployed from the shutdown. But what it looks like to me is with certainly the combination of the two, which is record deficit spending along with a CapEx spending cycle coming out of big tech like we've never seen before. If you took both of those things away and normalized those numbers, I find it very hard to believe that we wouldn't be in recession right now.
Okay.
So I kind of think that the craziness of what's going on in AI is kind of filling in gaps. And I think without that spend, it's very possible you could be in recession right now.
Wow. And so the president speaks to the McDonald's group, which was that was one of the greatest acts of propaganda in history, that he went to the drive-thru window. That was brilliant campaigning. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, others saying, hey, really, Mr. President, you have not fixed the economy. Right now, we're almost all the way through this year, almost. You've got your review preview free live webinar tomorrow. As we're sitting here recording this, go to knowyourriskpodcast.com, sign up for this. What grade do you give the president and his team for this year on the economy?
That's so hard.
Yeah.
Probably a B-.
Wow. Pretty solid.
Yeah. Because so first of all, when we talk about anybody that's talking about things that he hasn't gotten done yet, you're talking about a $30 trillion economy, and the guy's been at the reins now for 9 months.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So A. B. I think a lot of the things honestly, if you look at it from my only critiques on the economic side, I think the messaging has been atrocious. Like, for instance, right now you're seeing him pull back on the tariffs. Do you remember have a conversation we had when we started this whole tariff thing that I thought the messaging was really bad?
Yep.
Meaning, don't sit there and tell me you love tariffs. Tell me tariffs taste horrible, but so does medicine, and we drink it anyway.
Yeah.
That should have been the message. Not tariffs are great. And I didn't think Trump believed that at the time. I just thought it was dumb messaging, because if you think tariffs are so great and that's the message to the American people, what are you going to tell them 9 months from now when costs aren't down, right?
Yep.
The other side of it, again, on the communication side, how many morons do we have in the state of Washington that don't understand that President Trump has nothing to do with the fact you're still paying $5.30 a gallon for a gallon of gas, right?
Right.
And you haven't correctly articulated that. And clearly the people in Washington state are not smart enough to figure that out themselves, right? Yep. So, but I think when you look at it economically, are there some things philosophically I disagree with? Yes, but it doesn't matter that I disagree with them. Meaning, do I think the 50-year mortgage is a good idea? No. Do I think it's a horrible idea if Trump launches it? No. Why? Because it's coming regardless. And why is it coming regardless? Because if you haven't been paying attention for the last 15 years, we don't deal with any problems. If there is an ability to kick the can, that's what we're going to do. So the way you know that a problem will get dealt with is when printing money and kicking cans can't fix it. Yep.
No, that's a beautiful way to put it. And you brought up this thing about gas prices. This past summer, I live right on the border of Idaho and Washington. And this past summer, I was there filling my truck with gas. And there was a dude, and he was filling his little Subaru thing up with gas. And he had the ski rack on top. And on the back, he had some of the Washington State bumper strips, which indicate he's sort of the Seattle mindset.
It had to be a Subaru, right?
It's a Subaru, and we're sitting there, and I started a car. Hey, beautiful day. He goes, yeah, great day. You headed to the lake? No, just stopped after work to get gas. Oh, you live over here? No, just over the hill in Newman Lake. Oh, you stop in Idaho for gas?
Yeah, it's cheaper.
He totally got me. Totally understood, even kind of subconsciously looked at the bumper strips on his car, and I didn't say anything. Yeah, I get it. It's what
rules for thee and not for me,
yeah,
man.
Absolutely.
It is so consistent. I love it.
Yeah. Zach, always fun to have you on. It's knowyourriskpodcast.com. All of Zach's media work is great work, and brother, thank you for the wise counsel.
Hey, fun as always, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. This is the Todd Herman Show. Please go be well, be strong, be kind, and please make every effort to walk in the light of Christ.